Am I the asshole for moving out knowing my fiance can't afford it alone, while his mother who refuses to work disrespects me in my own home? Me, 29, and my ex-fiance, M27, have been living together for about 1.5 years. Fiance got his undergraduate degree, worked for a couple years, and then decided to get an MBA, which is how he ended up in our city. We moved in together after he finished his MBA program. Fiance is from the Midwest, and his mom has always wanted him to move back. When he told her he was staying here, she was heartbroken. I went to college and got my degree in a STEM field. After I graduated, I got a job with my current company and moved to the city where we currently live. It's a big international company with multiple locations in the US and internationally. I love my job. I like the company I work for, and the pay is pretty good. All in all, a pretty good deal. During COVID, my office shut down, and we all went WFH. After COVID, they decided not to reopen this office, so I've been 100% WFH since early 2020. I currently make considerably more than him, mainly because I've been working for 7 years, and I'm in tech. I had been living by myself in a one-bedroom apartment, and just had my office set up in the living room since it was just me. When we moved in together, we decided to get a 2-bedroom apartment so I could use the extra room as an office. Because of this, I was paying 2/3 of the rent, and he paid 1/3. We split everything else, $50.50. So the problem started this past May. Fiance's mom told him she wanted to move to our city to be closer to him. She asked if she could stay with us while she looked for a job and got settled. She's a teacher, so figured she'd be able to get a teaching job pretty quickly. Because of that, I didn't really mind her staying with us, as I figured it would just be for a couple months over the summer. Since I thought it would only be for a couple months, I moved my office into a corner of our bedroom, and my fiance bought a bed to put in the second bedroom. The problem is she never applied for any teaching positions and has been living with us for 6 months now. She and I have really been struggling with each other since she moved in. I can't make her understand that I work full-time. She constantly interrupts while I'm working, which is bad enough, but she even interrupts when I'm on team calls. She always asks me to take her places because she doesn't like to drive in our city. She has pretty outdated views of gender roles and is constantly giving me a hard time for not doing more around the house and making fiance help with chores, do his own laundry, etc. The constant criticism and insults are just really wearing me down. And I hate having my office shoved in a corner of the bedroom. Back in September, I told my fiance that since it looks like his mom is going to stay a while, we should split the rent 3 ways. He told me she can't afford that, since she has to conserve money until she gets a job. I told him I wasn't happy paying extra for a bedroom I can't use, so finally he said that we could do a 50-50 split. I could afford to pay the extra, but I hate the idea of funding her lifestyle. Every time I complain about her or the situation, he says he agrees, but doesn't know what to do because he can't kick out his mom. And he won't talk to her about the way she treats me or how she behaves. When I ask what the long-term plan is, he just says he doesn't know. I thought about giving him an ultimatum to tell her she has to leave, but I think he'd just end up resenting me for essentially putting his mom on the street. So one of my girlfriends is losing her roommate at the February. Our lease renews June 1. I'm very strongly considering moving out of our current apartment and moving in with her. I can afford to pay part of the rent on our current apartment and also half the rent at my friend's apartment. It's not ideal, but I'm not a big spender, so it's doable. The issue is, if he and his mom aren't able to pay for 1/3 the rent each, there's no way they could cover the whole thing on their own. But I can't live like this anymore, so I'm pretty sure this is what I'll do. But I wanted to see if people thought I'd be the H for leaving them like this. Comments. Comment 1. His mom is the biggest A because she specifically planned this. It isn't that she's had bad luck. She didn't even apply. Add in that she didn't respect your workplace and insult you. She's basically trying to be the matriarch of the house, while being a complete mooch. The biggest problem is your fiancé. This is just a glimpse of your future with a mama's boy. He's made it clear that he's okay with her walking all over you, and she's not leaving. You're going to end up as a third wheel in your own marriage. Comment de je suis d'accord. His mom is taking advantage, and your fiancé isn't setting boundaries. It's a big concern for the future. You deserve better. NTA. Comment 3. Exactly this. OP. You're not leaving them. You're escaping a situation that was never fair to you in the first place. His mom didn't just end up staying. She chose not to apply for jobs, and your fiancé chose to let her. Meanwhile, you've been paying the majority of the rent, lost your office, and now you're stuck in your own home with someone who disrespects you daily. If he wanted to build a life with you, he would have had a plan for this months ago. Instead, you're the only one being asked to sacrifice. Time to choose yourself because they already have. Comment 4. And be prepared for them to be upset because they are losing their money bags. They were using you and had absolutely no respect for you or neither one of them. If you don't leave, you will be the A. Comment 5. I'm a teacher. An old retired teacher. I could substitute teach every day this week if I wanted to do so. I still get requests to app interview for both public school and private school jobs. Mem 1 first. L. Could work if she wanted to work. I'm in my late 60s and drive all over and in Mexico and Europe on vacation. She is needlessly helpless. Comment 6. Good news. You discovered your fiance is a mama's boy before you got legally entangled. The price is 3 months of paying double rent. Sucks, but much cheaper than a divorce, alimony, child support, and years of therapy. Because of dealing with that kind of meal. Mommy wanted to prove her darling boy would pick her and take care of her, so she moved in and proved it. He won't stand up to her. Sadly, unless he gets some serious therapy and figures out how to enmesh, he's never going to. So tell him flat out, Mommy wins. She gets her little boy back. You will find a grown man. You'll pay your portion of the rent for the next few months, but you're letting the landlord know you will not be renewing, and do not use your income for renewal for him and Mommy. I'm sorry you have to deal with this. You did what you could, but unless he wants to grow up, you're going to spend decades hearing how you don't cook right, clean right, raise your kids, spend money, vacation wrong, and have bad values. She, of course, knows better. Don't do that to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, this will make him realize he's got to get off Mommy's titty if he ever wants a life of his own. Update. 5 days later. I posted here last week about the situation I'm in living with my soon-to-be ex-fiancé and his mom. I started off trying to reply to everyone's comments and keep up, but honestly, I just got completely overwhelmed with all the comments. First off, I want to thank everyone for their feedback and comments, even the ones that were kind of harsh. Actually, probably especially the ones that were kind of harsh. I really needed some tough love to make me realize that I was letting my STB ex and his mom take advantage of me. The more comments I read, the more pissed off I got. Honestly, I think I'm more pissed at myself for allowing this to happen and not advocating for myself more. This past weekend, I got my CBX alone so we could talk, which was actually harder than it should have been. Ben C. His mom always tries to tag along when we do anything. Going through all the comments, everyone left, and the memes people sent really helped me decide how to approach this. And also brought up a lot of good questions I should have thought of myself. Back to the discussion with the ex. I wanted to give him one more chance to pick us over his mom. Not because I thought he would, but I just wanted to be able to tell myself I give him the opportunity. I explained again about how unhappy I am with the situation, how it's affecting my work because of her constant interruptions, and just being unhappy and uncomfortable that I'm forced to work out of a corner in our bedroom. And I reminded him that until a few months ago, I was paying the majority of the rent, and being that I make so much more than him, it's really my salary that keeps us all afloat. And I also brought up again the way she treats me and talks to me. And he replied, the same way he has been. He agrees it's not right how she acts, and that it's really uncomfortable for us all. What F? I don't care, she's uncomfortable. Previously, I would have dropped it there. But this time, I told him how angry and disappointed I was that he let me pay for 2/3 of the rent when she first moved, and how unfair it was that I'm still paying for half when there are 3 people living there, and she is the only one with her own bedroom. It was the same story. She has to conserve money since she doesn't have any income currently, which brought up the question of where all her stuff went when she moved. What money does she use for incidentals? So evidently, when she got divorced, she asked for the divorce after my ex went off to college. It doesn't sound like her husband ex's dad wanted the divorce. His dad bought her out of the equity in their house. Ex didn't have any idea how much that was or how much is left. But until she moved here, she was working full-time as a teacher and living in a small apartment. So she should not have had to tap into the divorce settlement money very much. Other than that, X didn't have much insight into her finances, other than what she told him, that she has to conserve money. I told him straight up that I'm moving out before the end of the month, and from now on, I'm only paying 25%. As some of the commenters pointed out, she has a whole bedroom while I have to share with a man-child, so she should have to pay twice as much. And after I move out, I'm not paying for anything else. No utilities, no food, nothing other than rent. I have a pretty idea what his finances are like. And if he has to pay 75% of the rent all by himself, it's going to take a huge chunk of his net income. And after he pays utilities and buys groceries, there won't be anything left for incidentals. Rent was due on the 1st, but it's not late until after the 5th. So he has 2 days to come up with the dollars. If he doesn't come up with it and I end up covering, then I'll reduce the amount I pay in future months. The only reason I'm going to keep paying any of the rent is even after I move out. I'm still on the hook. I talked to the leasing office, and they explained that since X and I signed a single rental agreement together, e.g., one contract we both signed, as opposed to two contracts we signed individually, we are both responsible for the rent. They don't care who actually pays, as long as it gets paid. The only alternative would be if he agrees to sign a new lease by himself, or together with his mom. But in all likelihood, he wouldn't be able to pass the credit check on his own, so I'm kinda stuck. I don't think he'll do anything stupid though, because he's going to need to find some place to live after this, and a collection on his credit report wouldn't be good. I also told him that I'm going to find some place to work during the day until I move so she can't bother me. My friend I'm moving in with said I could work there during the day since she and her current roommate have in-person 9 to 5s. I took her up on that for now. After living with his mom, I'm not about to overstay my welcome, so I'm going to find some other options that I can rotate through. Someone suggested checking out the public library, or if it comes to it, I'll get a membership at one of those WeWork kind of places. Just in case. I brought my important papers, files, valuables, and my friend is storing them for me until I move in. He really didn't take it well. The surprising thing to me is that he was surprised by everything. He seemed really shocked that I wasn't prioritizing his mom. I really got the feeling that he sincerely believed I wanted to take care of her as much as him. And he kept saying stuff like, "What about my mom? What am I going to tell her? That's how she is, but we still need to help her," etc. He asked about our relationship and the engagement. I told him after I moved out I needed some space from him. In a few months, when we've both had some time space to process what happened, if we both agree, we can talk about the relationship. But he'd have to prove that he's going to have my back going forward and will set boundaries with his mom. I told him that just to avoid more drama, but I don't see a future in which we are together. I told him he needs to tell his mom because she's not my responsibility or problem, and she'll know something when I start moving my stuff out. He hasn't told her what's going on yet, but this weekend I'm going to start moving things, so he doesn't have much time. My friend's current roommate starts a new job in another state on the 3rd. So in reality, I can probably move in 2 to 3 weeks, just depending on when she actually leaves. I don't expect him to do anything bad other than sulk and complain. But if he does something stupid or doesn't pay his part of the rent, the ace up my sleeve is I'll tell the leasing office his mom moved in, which is prohibited in the lease. Honestly, getting evicted would solve a lot of my problems right now. So it's a pretty valid threat, I think. Now that I've mentally and emotionally separated myself from him and his mom, I'm looking forward to her reaction when he tells her what's going on. If it gets too ugly, I'll find a cheap Airbnb or hotel or something. I've had some friends, including the one I'm moving in with, offer to let me couch surf for a few weeks, but I just can't do that to someone else. So, that's it. I'm leaving, and I really don't care how that affects them. Comments. Comment 1. You're at the end of a long and painful process, but I'm sure that you will be better for it. Good luck. Comment 2. Dude should really just marry his mom. Comment 3. Notify your landlord in writing that you are moving out and to take you off the lease after June 1. You wouldn't want to do nothing and accidentally trigger an automatic renewal. Whoop. Already did that. I did it before I went to talk to the front office and confirmed that they received it while I was down there. After 12 years together, my fiance's ex-fling sends a bizarre package, stirring up old wounds, passive-aggressive friends, and fresh drama. Original post, first post ever. Woo, mandatory apologies for my English. Details and places muddled, just in case. Well, the title says it all. My fiance, Oliver, and I have been together for 12 years, stuck together through thick and thin, LDR, the usual problems of a couple starting off very young, etc. In the last few years, he has been struggling a lot with depression, anxiety, but he is slowly getting better. At some point in our LDR, we were living in 2 separate countries, and during his stay he became very good friends with 2 other people, Ben and Sarah. The 3 of them bonded through shared experiences, same mental health issues, etc. At some point, he came back. We started living together, eventually became engaged. We decided on a long engagement 2+ years, since we were both settled on long academic paths. Our relationship, that had at some points been turbulent, settled very well as we both acquired maturity and got to really know each other during our daily lives. Things were peachy. 3 years ago, Sarah moved closer to where we lived for a 2-year stay. We were all good friends, everything good, etc. Long story short, my fiancée cheated on me with her short before she left the country. An emotional affair included, founded by snooping. Bad on me. I was devastated. I cut contact with her immediately, demanded him to do the same, and almost broke up with him. We were separated for 2 months. It was rough because at that time, I had no access to therapy or counseling, and I was really far away from home, but my friends were kick-ass and supported me emotionally all that time. After these 2 months and a lot of soul searching, we took the first tentative steps to be together again. It took me a long time to forgive him and to recover my trust in him, but little by little, we healed and we made it work again. This was 2 years ago, and things are really good. Ben did not take the news of their separation too kindly, and he has been passive-aggressive to Oliver about him not talking to Sarah. Oliver has reacted well and has been adamant about not contacting him again. 2 weeks ago, Ben told fiancé that he had given our new address to Sarah because she wanted to send us a package with stuff belonging to Oliver. He says that she has nothing of him, and I believe it. They have never lived together. Most of their friendship they have been living in different places. He has been really anxious about all this matter. He does not want any contact with her. I personally do not care about her, but he is dreading the day the package arrives. If it comes when I'm in the house, I will just throw it away, but I do not want him to receive it and get an anxiety attack. So, relationships, what is your advice? I know I do not have to protect my fiancé from this stuff, but he is hurting, and I do want to support him. I do not think it is compromising material, because I already found the compromising material. Well, I think it is a passive-aggressive way of reminding us of her existence. And what shall we do with his friend Ben? TL.Yar. 2 years ago, my fiancé cheated. After some time, I took him back and we are strong now. But the other girl is sending us a mystery package. Fiancé is not taking it well. Oh, he added more info in the comments. Hi everybody. Oh my, this blew up. Thank you for all the good advice. It has been really helpful to clear my thoughts. I left out some details that might be relevant. Here they are. I do not think the package contains proof or details. I still do not know. When she was living in the same country as us, she was still 600 kilometers away. So there were not really any chances to meet without me knowing. I know when it happened. Later, she moved to another continent. At that time, I demanded 1, access to all his accounts. He complied. And 2, that he blocked her everywhere. He did it too. And I believe him, because when she actually tried to contact us later, about Ben, I will elaborate later, she had to do it through common friends. His anxious reaction does not surprise me. He used to have very serious issues with social anxiety, to the point of being paralyzed about any kind of unpleasant interaction. He has been working on his mental issues, gotten therapy and meds, etc., and now is much better. He reacted maturely to the latest developments. He told me immediately, and he understands that it is his mess to clean, but he suffered. Today, the first picked up a huge package, taller than a person, from a neighbor, and when he went through the door, and when he saw it, he really tensed up. Okay, that was kind of funny in a fucked up way. This might be pretty relevant too, but I kind of understated Ben's reaction. He did not take well at all. His 2 best friends not talking anymore. As I said, the 3 of them were a very close group, but he in particular had a magical vision of the trio, being friends forever. He was into Sarah a lot, and spent hours talking to my fiancé about how much he loved her. I have the feeling that Ben is into my fiancé as well. When my fiancé told him that he and Sarah did not talk anymore and why, Ben seemed to take it okay. But 2 weeks later, he contacted her to say he was about to self-harm. That's why she contacted us. We contacted Ben's family. He was okay. Fiancé set boundaries with him, but did not cut him off completely. I am starting to think that Ben's reason to give her our address is his particular way of punishing my fiancé for leaving the magical trio. My personal feelings. All this drama has been annoying AF. The general advice of relationships seems to be to cut off Ben, and I think it is spot on. I will tell Oliver that I think it is the best idea. He is on the fence about it. About the cursed package, personally, I lean towards throwing it away without opening. I do not want to have anything to do with that dweeb. However, you are right. It is not my decision to make. If when it comes, I will offer him the choice, either to throw it away, or to go through the contents together and probably toss them away afterwards. Thank you. Update. So I know this is ancient history, but we got an update, and I have several private messages asking me for an update if something happened. So, yes, we got the package last week, and it did not disappoint. Editor's note. OUP recapped the first post. I edited it out. After reading the advice here, I sat down with him. We decided we did not want the fucking thing, so he wrote a message to Ben saying, "Tell Sarah we do not want anything from her." And then, he blocked him. This all happened last year. Meanwhile, life went on. He changed jobs. He is still in academy. And now he is way more happy and relaxed. My job is well paid and interesting. And I can keep some other projects on the side. We got married this summer, and our wedding was perfect for us. Lively, bombastic, lots of food and alcohol, and our friends and family together. It was expensive, but we did not give a damn. This month, my husband is on a conference trip in another continent, so I am home alone. When I arrived home in the evening, there was a package addressed to him in the mailbox, with a stamp from a place where I know she lived, and a sender we don't know. I thought for a moment, oh my, this may be her. But then I thought that it would be pretty crazy of her to send it now. That night, I was Skyping with my husband and made a comment about the parcel. I mentioned the name of the sender, and he did not know the name. So I proposed that I open it with him on camera. And well, turns out I was right on the money. It contained several postcards wishing him happy birthdays and Merry Christmases, all unsigned. Also little notes such as dance in the rain, look at the clouds, walk barefoot, that kind of platitudes. And it had a book, a young adult romance book. I remember saying aloud, "Oh, for fuck's sake," when I saw it. Meanwhile, my husband had a face like he had seen a cockroach in his sandwich. The title of the novel is Star Girl. It is about a girl who arrives at a high school, and she is very quirky and magical, and she dances in the rain and plays the ukulele, and she is very misunderstood by the normies. The narrator dates her, but realizes that he cannot be with her because deep down is afraid of not fitting in. So he dumps her and then regrets it forever. It is not a super bad book. I like the prose, but despite the intentions of the author, the heroine is too much of a special snowflake, and her behavior often delves into creepy territory. The book itself had a sad face in the dedication page, and a small note saying, "Read the sequel. You will understand." It was crammed with notes in small script, and sometimes the letters had been traced several times over. All of the notes were very idealized descriptions of the heroine, about how magical and beautiful she was, about the things she did, etc. Some of the notes were also about the main character, agonizing about staying with her or leaving her to fit in, or descriptions about how they made out. Yuck. There were also drawings of the heroine who looked like an idealized version of Sarah. I am not gonna lie. I laughed my ass off at this fucking manic pixie dream wannabe. My husband was less amused and more creeped out. He said that she was psycho, and that he did not want that shit at home. I kinda forgot about the book for the following days, because last week was my week from hell, and I had to work 70 hours. I normally work 30. Because apart from my job, I took a 2-week project working in-house for a company, and I organized an art exhibition on the weekend. Also, I got pretty bad health news from a close friend, think incurable and degenerative. So the topic of Sarah was out of my mind. Yesterday, I finally had time to think about it, and I got angry at that asshole. They have not met in 3 years. Who the fuck does this dweeb think she is? Etc., etc. I considered unblocking her briefly to tell her to stay the fuck away from us, but discarded the idea. Then I considered finding out her address and sending her a copy of Holes by Louis Sachar and 20 minimalist peepees printed between the pages, with a note. This is a riddle. If you solve it, I will leave my wife for you. Love, fiancé. Then I realized I would rather ignore her. So I threw the notes in the recycling bin and I put the book in a free box so somebody could take it home. That is all. No threats, no pictures, no positive pregnancy tests. It was anticlimactic, but honestly, it was a welcome distraction and a heavy week. I don't like that she has our current address, but I do not think she will be sending more stuff. If she does, we will tell her to piss up a rope. The funny thing is that I don't hate her. She is an asshole, but this is just too sad to hate. TLDR, got the package more than a year after, when fiancé was not at home. I opened it with him, on camera. It was pretty weird shit, but ultimately harmless. Ignored and moved on. Thank you guys for the advice you gave in the previous post. Relevant comments. Comment. God, I raided Stargirl when I was like 14. I associated with her for all of a week, before realizing that she was definitely a try-hard manic pixie dream girl, whose sole purpose in life was being more unique than anybody. Whoop. I know, right? The cringe is real. I told my friends and they all died laughing. They decided to name the whole affair the unboxing. I don't think they will ever forgive me for not recording myself while opening the parcel. What makes me wonder is that it's been so long already. Like, almost 3 years. Come on girl, get over it, get a life, move to Philly. Buy a loft, start a noise band, get 6 or 7 roommates, eat hummus with them, book some gigs. Paint, smoke clothes, listen to Animal Collective. Start some type of salsa company. Stay the hell away from married people who do not want anything to do with you, McKay. Am I the asshole for purposefully ordering meat items so I don't have to share with my vegetarian friend? I have a friend who is a vegetarian and very entitled. She believes that her money is hers, and my money is ours. I love sharing food with friends. I eat almost exclusively family style, but I hate sharing food with this friend because she doesn't share food with me. To avoid confrontation, I have started exclusively ordering meat items whenever we eat together. Recently, we went out to eat, and I ordered chili cheese fries, and I added steak. My friend interjected and asked if we could get the steak on the side so we could share. The waiter was like, sure, and I kind of just stared blankly. silently fuming. But then when the fries came, I immediately dumped all the steak on the fries and started mixing. She was like, "Wait." And I said, "Oh, oops, sorry," and continued eating. She said she would have ordered more food if we weren't sharing, and I said, "Well, then order it." But she didn't because she was trying to save money. She ate her sad salad and kind of passive-aggressively said, "Man, I wish I had some fries with this too." I ignored the tone and just responded cheerily, "You should get some, they're good." Hopefully, she gets the hint soon. Edited, okay? I'm sick of saying this, but this person does not respond well to criticism. Friends have tried and failed to bring up issues about money with this person before. It does not end well. I am prioritizing my own mental health over being mature and doing the right thing. Go watch an after-school special. How do I add a flair? No more advice, Pula. This is event-relevant comments. Comment. Genuine question. Has anyone ever expressed that it annoys them when she does this? Sometimes people don't realize they're being annoying. If you haven't already, I would try to set the boundary that you don't mind sharing food if she also shares food. Tell her that you understand she needs to save money, but that it doesn't mean that you can afford her to keep eating your food too. If she doesn't take it well, that's a sign to distance yourself. If she apologizes and works on it, it could be genuine ignorance. OOP. Yes, there have been multiple attempts at boundary setting in the past, all the way from when we were little. That is when I learned that most people would rather keep the peace by placating the dramatic person rather than hold the dramatic person accountable. She is manipulative. There was a whole issue at prom where she didn't pay her share for the limo. The kid who did would not let her on. She cried. The kid's parents felt bad and covered for her, made the kid apologize. She always has a sob story. She's always the victim. I have even offered her to apply for a job in the past where I work as a busser, because I too thought she just needed help. BC again, she's manipulative. Before my eyes were opened, she said to my face, "I could never bus tables." Is there a host position open? This isn't her only thing. She is manipulative and selfish in every single way. Some people see it, some people don't. And until everyone sees it, I'm not going to be the hero that calls her out on it. Update. My post blew up, and lots of people asked for an update. Nothing too interesting happened until last week, so here it goes. TLDR of last post. Mooch vegetarian friend who likes to steal food but doesn't like to share, keeps stealing my food, so I purposefully order meat items to not share. Update. Long story short, I'm no longer friends with Mook. Another instance happened that was the catalyst for me. But I didn't make a dramatic show of anything. I just slowly stopped going on outings where Mooch was invited. All of my friends seemed to think Mooch isn't that bad, so they weren't really wanting to ice her out for me, which is totally understandable. But unfortunately, I stopped hanging out with most of my friends. That is, until last week. My friends had planned a short spring break trip to Mexico. I didn't go because Mooch was invited. I even warned them that Mooch was going to make it miserable, but no one listened to me. And shocker to everyone except for me, the trip was awful. She didn't pay for a single thing. She still owes people her portion of the Airbnb and gas money for the drive. Additionally, she had a sour mood anytime plans didn't go her way. Example. Group wants to go to the markets. Mooch wants to go to rent a boat. Majority rules they go to market. Mooch has a giant frown and makes sure everyone is aware she is having a bad time. One night, everyone went clubbing. She got tired and wanted to go home. No one wanted to go with her. She was waiting around with her giant frown, clearly wanting someone to leave with her so she didn't have to pay for the Uber. She finally orders an Uber for herself. After the Uber arrives, two girls decide they are actually tired too, so they take the Uber with her. She had the audacity to Venmo, request them money for the Uber, after having not paid for anything else the entire trip. And one of the girls she Venmo requested was the one that paid for the Airbnb that she still had not paid her back for. For the record, everyone else took turns paying for Ubers. No one Venmo requested each other for that. This was the first and only Uber Mosh ever paid for. That girl immediately starts a group chat with a couple of people on the trip and me with my favorite thing to hear. Mongji, OP. You were right. Then I got to sit back and just watch as everyone vomited to me about everything terrible that happened on the trip. So it sounds like these 5 people, plus me, are done with her. Not sure how the rest of the group feels, but at least I have 5 people I can hang out with regularly again. Top comments. Comment 1. Clearly, you've never had a long-term toxic friend or relationship before, because you'd know how hard these habits are to break. They've known each other since childhood, and it's hard to set boundaries with someone like this when they are repeatedly broken. Plus, she never said that not going on that trip made her miserable. Quite the opposite, actually. Also, did you ever consider that OP might be the one with money problems? Maybe, just maybe. She doesn't want to hang out with someone who thinks OP's money is also hers. OP. It's not even the money problems, even though yes, that's at the forefront. It's that she expects everyone to serve her and cater to her feelings all the time. She wants final decision-making for all activities while not paying. It's the fact that I have to drive her everywhere, but I'm also not allowed to leave until she's ready. Like fuck if not wanting to spend time with her makes me mean. I'd rather be mean than continue being a doormat. Comment 2. Karma is a dish, best served with meat, if you ask me. I'm glad they all woke up. I hope she's lonely with her sad salads. The incident that made Woagoop cut off the friendship, thanks to Eyes Go Away for finding this comment. I was her ride to a group activity. Right before I was about to leave, my mom decided to pick a fight with me about my room being a mess. When my mom and I fight, she can be kind of mean, so I was sobbing. And my friends know this. I texted my friends that I couldn't come anymore because my mom grounded me. Mook said, "But you were my ride." And I asked the group if someone else can pick her up. Everyone else lives kind of far, and no one wants to go out of their way to pick Mooch up. She calls me and asks that if I can't come hang out, can I at least come pick her up, drop her off at the hangout location, and then pick her up again at the end of the night? She even said, "I feel like your mom would understand. You made the commitment to drive me." I just said no, and to her credit she accepted it, and then ended with, "Well, that sucks. I hope you feel better." BC, she can tell I've been crying. That was just the final straw for me. Am I the asshole for banning in-laws from seeing our daughter after they gave her an unauthorized medication despite our clear objections? Original post. I know how the title sounds, but please bear with me. Throwaway for obvious reasons. I, 24M, and my wife, 24, recently had our daughter in July. She is the best thing to ever happen to my wife and I, and we couldn't be more thrilled to have our little bundle of joy. She recently got sick while staying with her grandparents, my in-laws, while my wife and I took a trip for work. For context, my in-laws are really big into LifeWave X39. It's a patch that supposedly helps regrow stem cells by reflecting light rays back into your body, allowing your body to produce more stem cells to fight off diseases and sickness. If you ask me, it sounds like snake oil, and my wife agrees, calling it a pyramid scheme. The only way to get said patches is by spending well over $1,000, and then you're tasked with selling the patches yourself. It's essentially some multi-level marketing product, where the more patches you sell, the more money you make. Falling right in line with my wife's comparison to a pyramid scheme, but MLMs are somehow legal. Now, I've tried doing research on X39, and the only comments I've seen praise said, product are brand new accounts never used before or after, or their entire profile is dedicated to shilling out for LifeWave X39. In my own research, they appear to just be overpriced stickers. They contain no medication, no special UV rays, or anything of the sort. They're literally just an overpriced sticker with an air bubble. But my wife and I have made it very clear that we wanted no part in X39, nor did we want our daughter to have it. Even if it's fake, we wanted no part in it. And on the off chance it did something, I didn't want our daughter to be used as their lab rat or guinea pig. Now, before we left our daughter with my in-laws, we provided them with some infant medication just in case she got sick. Can never be too safe, you know? Well, we returned home from the work trip early because our daughter wasn't getting any better. So we picked her up and went home. We were going to give her a bath. And in the process of taking her jacket off, we found an X39 patch on her arm. Upon finding it, we immediately called her parents and demanded to know why she had a patch on her. Her parents tried saying that it's safe for the baby. We even ordered the ones for ages 7 and younger. And that it's practically medication. Their words, which still didn't answer our question. So my wife checked the go bag, and the Motrin we gave them was, while it was used, not used very much at all. Her parents tried claiming that someone else in their group or whatever gave it to their son, and they got better in a week. Point is, we didn't buy it, nor did we care. We've made it abundantly clear that we wanted nothing to do with X39, and we didn't want our daughter to be a part of it. They failed to listen. My wife was on the phone with them for over an hour, and while I don't know the exact length the conversation went to, I know it at least ended with her screaming going to see my fucking daughter again. And if you attempt to come to my house, we will call the police. Before hanging up, that was 3 days ago now, and we've had several missed calls from family members, her parents, her siblings, and even family friends, all saying that we overreacted, and they were just trying to help. Maybe we overreacted, but we wanted nothing to do with that, and despite making it clear, they went against our wishes and did it anyway. And instead of giving my daughter actual medication, they tried to give her some placebo patch. Her parents tried claiming that we're stopping them from seeing their only grandchild over something so small. But we did want to hear it. Nita has no consensus bot. OOPE was NCA relevant comments. Linda Pandrix. I kinda think YTAH for leaving your sick baby to go out of town. OPE. We didn't leave a sick baby to go out of town. We left her with her grandparents while she was fine. We only packed Motrin because, as I stated in my post, you can never be too careful. She got sick while we were out of town, not before. Mediocre key 4, 992. You say that like it's snake oil, like it's just as bad as the X39. Was it Advil and cough syrup? Or just a generic bottle that you wrote infant medication on? You expect us to believe that you gave them medication just in case she got sick, and then she immediately got sick. Come on, this sounds like total BS. OP. Her grandparents don't exactly have children medication laying around. We packed her Motrin, which I quite literally stated later in the post, had you read it. Not some generic bottle or snake oil and just as bad. Nor do they have the ability to really go anywhere. They live a good 30-40 minutes outside of any nearby town. The drive to and from her parents is a grand whole hour drive from where we live. And my wife and I quite literally work with sick people all the time. No, I'm not a doctor, nor do we have medical expertise. So my wife and I contracting something is usually pretty high. So we pack Motrin or whatever the store brand is that we'll buy every time we left her with her grandparents for more than a day. Update 1. About a month ago, I made this post ranting about my in-laws' weird obsession with for lack of a better term, cult regarding stem cell regeneration through patches, which clearly isn't a real thing. There's been some development on that end, and while I'm confident things will likely end here, I wanted to give a quick update for those who may have been curious. I'm writing this on the toilet at work, so don't mind the rushiness of it all. After my wife essentially cut ties with them, and we all received a million phone calls and text messages from family and friends, things quieted down for about a week or two. We started having my sister watch our daughter instead when we had to work. We haven't had another out-of-trip town since the initial post, however. Through those couple of weeks, we never really heard anything beyond a couple of supposed shit-talking posts on Facebook bitching about us. But I can't seem to find the posts. We thought things were probably, hopefully, going to end there. But boy, were we wrong. And this is quite the jump from the last post. My wife and I were visited by CPS about 2 weeks ago or so after they received concerning calls about supposed child abuse and negligence within the household. Of course, nothing like that happened, and the caseworker was very quick to see that. We had asked who reported her, and while she couldn't say we had a suspicion, it was from her parents. We were completely helpful and cooperative with the caseworker. And after she left that night, my wife called her mom up and asked her if she's the one who called CPS. Surprisingly, her mother took full accountability, but not so surprisingly, tried to spin it around in her favor, claiming that she did it for our own good, because our daughter was sick, and she wasn't getting any better when she was there, so clearly, we were doing something awful as parents. Kids get sick. It happens. But they're also extreme anti-vaxxers. Not just COVID, I mean everything. From even something as trivial as the flu shot. Yet, they're willing to shill out thousands of dollars for some supposed stem cell regeneration sticker. The fucking hypocrisy and irony in their bullshit is unmatched. My wife didn't really know how to react to that, so she basically told her mom to go fuck herself. And she wants nothing to do with her again. I know I saw a few comments on the last post saying maybe we shouldn't have cut them out entirely. But now I'm starting to question why we didn't cut them out years ago, before our daughter was even a thought in our heads. About a week after the first audit, my mother-in-law showed up to our house on my day off, while my wife was at work, and essentially demanded to see our daughter, forcing her way into our home by pushing past my arm. When I told her to get the hell out of my house, she had no business matching in here like that. She essentially told me that I'm unfit to be a parent because I'm depriving my daughter of help she desperately needed, because she's clearly a very sick child. My daughter is perfectly healthy right now, and in fact, has had no stuffy nose and no high temperature. Nothing. I told my mill straight up that she was batshit insane. I went off on her about how she lied to us, went against our wishes, had the audacity to call and lie to CPS, and then show up at our house unannounced, blah, uninvited, and march herself inside, as well as everything about her, X39, LifeWave bullshit. We argued there for a while before I finally got so fed up. I told her to leave my house before I called the police. She stormed out of the house and in true Karen fashion, said, "This isn't over," before slamming my door. I immediately called my wife, who was, of course, irate. The following morning, we filed a restraining order at the courthouse from her mom and dad, because they're clearly not in their right mindset. The caseworker had to audit us a few more times, as per their guidelines over the past 2 weeks, and yesterday was her last day, where she informed us that we're doing good, and she's sorry for the trouble they caused. We kept her up to speed on the LifeWave shit, the showing up unannounced, and the restraining order. And though she couldn't really take a side, she seemed apologetic. But my wife and I are pretty livid. We started looking at houses in another state to get as far away from her in-laws as possible. Our company has offices out there, so it's entirely possible we could just be transferred. So we're crossing our fingers that all goes well. The restraining order gets filed soon enough, and we'll get a place clear across the country so that this will hopefully be my last update. Update 2. Hello everyone. Thank you for being so supportive. I've read some of the comments, though not all, far too many. And I know some of you have asked for updates, and so I wanted to give everyone an update for those still interested. Things aren't going to be as juicy in this post as the last two, but some new things have happened, so I'll just jump right in. After my in-laws called CPS on us for no discernible reasons other than we forbid them from seeing our daughter, things mostly quieted down. Some of you suggested that we should do more than just get a restraining order, so we bought some security cameras and had them installed all around our property. And our neighbors, who were pretty good friends of ours, was in the loop for the most part, and anytime we had to go somewhere. Not only did we have video cameras recording every time someone entered our driveway, displayed directly on our phones. Our neighbors kept us updated too. She stopped coming around for the first few months since she called CPS on us. But just the month before last, as we were preparing to move, my in-laws somehow got word we planned on moving states and attempted to block our driveway, as her dad tried blocking the front door. Not sure what their plan was there, because we have a back door and an extra side door leading from the kitchen. But I digress. Her mom blocked the driveway, stopping our U-Haul or car from leaving the property, and wouldn't budge even after we told them we would call the police. They told us they'd move if we told them where we were moving to, but my wife told them that wasn't happening, and they had 10 minutes to leave, or we'd be calling the police. My neighbor came over during the commotion, but my in-laws still wouldn't budge. My daughter is crying during all of this as my wife is trying to console her, as my neighbor and I are attempting to remove my father-in-law from the doorway, but he wouldn't move. Eventually, my wife called the police, and I'm guessing another neighbor called them as well, because they responded within mere minutes. My in-laws kept screaming that we were taking their rightful grandchild away, and that we'd all be damned to burn in hell for this. But honestly, that just made me laugh. The police kept asking them to leave, but they wouldn't. Eventually, they were arrested nice enough to call a tow truck for us to be able to back out of the driveway. Lo and behold, as the police were handcuffing my in-laws, they both had on those X39 patches, and even the police questioned them about it. But whatever. What's done is done. We were able to finally leave and on to new adventures. We've been settled in at our new house for the better part of over a month, and we're enjoying it greatly. No word from her in-laws, and they have no idea where we are. We have them blocked, but we'll eventually get messages from unknown numbers or Facebook accounts asking where we moved. But there's no way they're that foolish to believe we'll actually tell them. Luckily, neither my last state or this one have any grandparents' rights, so we're in the clear there. Thank you, everyone. Hopefully, this is my last update. Relevant comments, Quicksand 32. Seriously, look into a PO box and have all mail routed there. OOP. Hey there. We actually did get our mail routed to a PO box. So Flasoon, why were they not arrested for violating a restraining order? OOP. We informed the police they had a restraining order. I just don't think they cared. They were more concerned with getting them off our property, as opposed to them violating the restraining order. I think one of their final charges after being arrested was violation of a restraining order, though. The police just didn't seem to care at the time, which is unfortunate, to say the least. Final update. Well, this is certainly to be the last update, when I honestly thought the last post I made would be the final one. About 4.5 months ago, give or take me, my wife and daughter moved across the country to avoid her parents. And I'm happy to say that beyond some annoying phone calls from different numbers and messages on Facebook, things were quiet. About 3 months ago or so, I posted what I thought would be the final update. But I know some of you asked to be kept in the loop, so here we are. Over a month ago or so, we were informed that her in-laws were shot and killed by the new homeowners of the previous house we lived in. In their infinite wisdom, they for some reason thought we never actually moved after not getting any responses and broke into our previous house to kidnap our daughter. The new homeowners were awake, and after my in-laws broke into what was our daughter's room, which was now the homeowner's child's room, the homeowners shot my father-in-law, killing him almost instantly. My mother-in-law tried to climb out of the window, but was shot in the back and succumbed to it while in the hospital. I don't have all the details. These are just what I was able to piece together from the police report and my old neighbor. My wife is in shock and isn't quite sure how to handle the news, but she at least tells me that she at least knows now that our daughter will finally be safe. After we got the news, we just sat on the couch and I comforted her all night. And we both eventually fell asleep on the couch. She says she finally feels safe and is glad our kid will be, but she still never wanted them to die. And I get that. I don't wish death upon anybody. My wife and I are glad the current homeowners and their kid is okay, and she's shaken, worried that if we hadn't moved, they'd have succeeded and kidnapped our daughter. I told her there's no use worrying about the what-ifs, because what's done is done. And at least she's safe. My wife agreed, but I can still tell she's trying to wrap her head around the entire ordeal. We had started seeing a therapist about the entire experience, and the therapist suggested taking a vacation. So I just recently purchased some tickets to Hawaii and had just surprised my wife with them this weekend, as a nice little getaway vacation, as my wife always wanted to go to Hawaii. My wife was ecstatic when I showed her the tickets, and she's excited to go, and I'm hoping this vacation is just what she needs, for hopefully not stress as much. I feel awful knowing that my wife isn't sure where to go or what to do, and I'm being her rock as best as I can. And I'm thankful that we have that therapist for her to work through some of her stress and get help. My wife and I are doing okay if anyone is curious. She's just trying to wrap her head around what happened. This will be my final update, everyone, and I'm hoping everyone here has a great day. We leave for Hawaii in a week, so we're both excited. My wife has been trying to keep her mind off things by focusing on the trip, as she says it's helping. I'll catch everyone later, but don't expect any updates. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you all for your support. I caught my wife cheating, confronted her affair partner, and exposed the truth to his spouse. I'm at a total loss. I do not know what to do. There were signs, but I missed them. I was blinded by love, and never believed this would happen to me. Not with her, my wife and best friend of nearly 2 decades. I work out of town and wasn't meant to return until tonight. We were scheduled to travel for a 2-day road trip tomorrow. Work was sluggish, so I came home yesterday afternoon. This trip was planned to offer us some alone time after spending so much time with family and friends this summer. When I arrived home, there was a truck in my driveway that I did not recognize. My neighbor recently inquired how I liked the new truck, but I assumed he was incorrect and didn't think much of it. As soon as I saw the truck, I had a bad feeling. I loved and trusted my wife wholeheartedly, but that feeling was there, and it was powerful. I sneaked around the side of the house and into our bedroom window. It was open, and I could hear them as I approached. When I peeked through the window, my worst fears were confirmed. They were absolutely naked on my bed. I walked away. I've been fighting the impulse to do something I know I'll regret. At this point, I'm not sure I care what happens to me. I spent the night at my family's cabin and drank everything. Today, on my way home, I considered confronting her, but decided against it. I am not ready. Anger is all I feel. All I can think of is violence. I'm not in a good place right now. Not good enough to see her. I'm back in the cabin now. I have 60 ounces of rum and have been staring at it for an hour. I want to get drunk and forget about it, but I don't want to make stupid judgments. I understand that this is a key moment in my life, and my actions in the coming days will shape the rest of my life. That is why I am here. I need help. I'm not ready to speak with family or friends, so I'm reaching out to strangers. The quantity of help and guidance I've received is incredible. I honestly got choked up thinking about how many kind people out there are eager to help a stranger. It gives me hope for the world just when I need it. The downside of all this help is that I'm having difficulty responding to everyone. I have around 600 private messages and a few hundred comments on Reddit. I would like to thank everyone individually, and I will make an attempt to do so. But it will take time. For now, I'd like to express my gratitude to everyone for their nice messages and useful suggestions. It means so much to me. I've seen a few comments and queries that keep coming up, so I wanted to provide some clarity and a tiny update. If you can't tell, I am feeling much better today. The discomfort has nearly entirely vanished. I still feel like I've been hit in the belly, but I've started thinking about the future. It's barely been 2 days, so this does not feel right to me. Is this the quiet before the storm, or am I incredibly resilient? When I referred to my wife as my best friend, I was referring to the 2 roles she filled in my life. The other guy wasn't my best buddy or anyone I know. I didn't get a good look at him, but based on what I saw in his vehicle, I don't think he's somebody I know. We don't have children, but we were planning to have them soon. We recently sold our home and were planning to relocate closer to my employment in September when the new owners took possession. I intend to thank my neighbor for tipping me off, but discreetly, as he did for me. Many folks have asked me about the signals I mentioned. Here are a handful that come to mind right now. She was texting really late at night. She began going out for after-work drinks with her buddies on a regular basis. This was unlike her, but I was relieved she was being social. She stated she went to yoga once a week, but didn't pay because a coworker, who was also the instructor, offered her a pass in exchange for assisting with setup and cleanup. It struck me as unusual that she appeared rigid for someone who claimed to practice yoga. Unknown caller hang-ups become common. We generally answer one another's phones when we're close, but I responded multiple times only to hear someone hang up. We receive a lot of spam calls. However, they are mainly from telemarketers or debt collectors attempting to contact the previous owner of our number. This type of hang-up is uncommon. When my brother came, we had a long conversation. He has been my true best friend, and I've understood how vital it is to remember that he will always be there for me without judgment, just as I would be for him. Even though we disagree on occasion, he truly defines what a true friendship is. Because I was scheduled to be home last night, I opted to answer my wife's text. We are not permitted to use phones on site at work, so it was appropriate for me to declare I could only text her. She knows I can easily sneak in a few messages. I texted her that I needed to visit one of the company's remote locations and wouldn't be able to call until the end of the weekend. I also told her I'd cancel our bookings and reschedule them later. She replied that she could bring her best friend with her to the romantic bed and breakfast on the vineyard that I had reserved. I realized it wasn't the best friend she wanted me to believe she had. I informed her that I had already handed the reservation to my brother and his wife because it was non-refundable, and they would reimburse me in a month. I canceled all of my other reservations this morning, except for the romantic one. My brother is accompanying me instead. Fortunately, the hotel allowed us to move from the honeymoon suite to a room with 2 beds. There's also a gorgeous lake nearby with boat rentals, so we've turned this into a much-needed fishing trip. This trip means I'm free for the weekend and won't have to contact her for a few days. That reduces tension and provides me more time to contemplate. Right now, I'm considering getting divorced. I honestly don't see any other way. My brother is supportive, but he has encouraged me to wait a few weeks and speak with someone first. His wife has a buddy who is a couples counselor and is available to chat with me on Monday. I don't think it will change my view, but it might help me sort through some of this mess. I've also started seeking assistance from others online and contacting lawyers. At the absolute least, I want to be prepared for what appears to be an unavoidable situation. I want to do it the proper way. I never imagined she would try to deceive me, but I also never expected her to cheat. I need to be ready for anything. Thank you again, everyone. I'm going to attempt to enjoy my weekend to the fullest. Update 2. Busted my wife. Cheating a lot has transpired in the last few days. I'll start with the less crucial topics. My brother, Matt, and I drove nearly 5 hours to the vineyard bed and breakfast. I genuinely appreciate his being there for me through everything. The drive ended up being more of a venting session than anything else, but it did help me clear my mind. After chatting about my feelings for most of the trip, I just needed some alone time. While Matt went out to dinner, I remained in the room. He brought me some food, which I appreciated. The following day, we hit the water. Matt was able to hire a boat, and the proprietor of the B&B, knowing about our fishing plans, generously packed a small cooler with food and drinks. It was their attempt to make the romance package more useful for 2 brothers on a fishing trip. It was a thoughtful gesture on their part to make the romance bundle more beneficial to 2 brothers. The fishing wasn't spectacular. We both got a couple of trout, but had to release them because of their size. The B&B snacks worked great. We stopped fishing in the middle of the afternoon and went around to vineyards and fruit markets, where we bought food and cases of wine for Matt's wife, Jennifer. That night, we treated ourselves to the largest tomahawk steak we could find. On Sunday, we returned to Matt's apartment. He lives in the town adjacent to me, about an hour away. When we arrived, Jen was waiting for us, and we opened a cold bottle of white wine from the cooler. That's when my weekend officially ended. Jen informed me that while we were away, she chose to spy on my wife. She claims the guy came to my house on Friday night and stayed all night. On Saturday morning, Jen arrived just as he was leaving. She followed him home and discovered the flat where he lived. My wife stayed there on Saturday night, sending me texts expressing her love and missing me. Jen revealed that she divided her time between visiting family in my town and following my wife. She happened to catch my wife leaving his apartment on Sunday morning and snapped a couple photos of them hugging and kissing before she got in her car. I do not want to see the photographs. That very much closed the deal for me. I don't think I'll ever trust her again if she can lie so simply and tell me she loves me while she's with someone else. Despite everything, I resolved not to make any rash judgments based on emotion. I need to be cool and composed. Jen informed me that Sharon, the counselor she had mentioned earlier, was coming over for supper. Sharon was the person Jen scheduled an appointment with for me. To clarify, Sharon had never met my wife, and this was my first time meeting her. Sharon was a very pleasant girl, and we hit it off instantly. After supper, we took the dogs for a walk through Matt's neighborhood to have a private talk. Sharon was a great listener, and I felt comfortable being open with her, which was quite beneficial. Even though I am close to my brother, talking with Sharon was different and much needed. It's the same reason I enjoy blogging on Reddit. It allows me to vent and untangle the jumble in my thoughts. Our walk lasted about an hour, and Sharon's only meaningful suggestion was to avoid delaying the conversation with my wife. She advised me that the more I wait, the tougher it will be to approach her. Sharon stated that I need clarity more than anything right now, and my wife is the only one who can deliver it. Later that night, Matt and Jen offered to let me remain with them for as long as I needed. I know Matt and I have boundaries when it comes to living in close quarters, so I contacted my supervisor. He was able to place me in business housing, where I had been staying every 2 weeks. Normally, I leave on my days off, but my boss has arranged for me to work full-time for a few months if needed. I chose to reschedule a session with Sharon for later this week, assuming that our walk would suffice for the initial meeting. She agreed. Sunday night, I lay in bed contemplating how to approach the subject with my wife. Even imagined scenarios made me angry or sad. I decided to wing it. I am typically good under pressure. Yesterday, I awoke, said farewell to Matt and Jen, and drove home. I worried what I would do if the guy was there when I arrived. I recognized that meeting him would definitely return me to the same angry state I had been in a few days before. To avoid this, I decided to perform a drive-by first. Neither his truck nor my wife's automobile were present. I walked inside and gathered a variety of necessities and items I didn't want to part with, primarily photos and old family treasures. I packed everything into my pickup and drove over to the guy's residence. Her car was not present either, but his truck was. I decided to text her to ask where she was. She stated she was going to grab groceries. I don't trust her right now, so I stopped by the grocery shop to make sure she was there. I feel so horrible confessing that I did that, but my trust has been damaged, and it is the only way I can be certain of anything. I contacted her again, asking her to come home because we needed to chat. She said, "What's wrong?" I just told her to be honest and shut off my phone. She arrived home 15 minutes later. When she walked in, she came up to hug and kiss me, as she always does. I turned away from her. She asked me again what was wrong, and I told her that she needed to be more honest with me. She pretended she didn't understand what I was saying. I responded, "Okay. If you can't be honest, then I'm leaving." She panicked and inquired, "Are you talking about yoga?" I assumed it was a start, so I asked her what she meant. She stated that she had not been going to yoga. The remainder of the conversation proceeded like this. I said, "If you weren't going to yoga, where were you going?" Her response, "I was taking walks to relax, because I've been really stressed lately." Me, why were you so stressed? And why did you lie to me about what you were doing? Her response, "Preparing for the move has been stressing me out, and I didn't know how to tell you." Me, so you choose to lie? What was the big deal about informing me you were going for a stroll to relieve stress? Her, I did not intend to lie. I was merely scared that my stress might exacerbate yours. Me, but I am not stressed. You don't seem to be telling me everything. Her response, "What do you mean?" Me, I believe you are lying about more than simply skipping yoga. I'm asking you again to be honest. You have already lied to me, so this cannot work if you continue to lie. Her, I'm not sure what more to say. Are you referring to last weekend, when I went out for drinks with several pals and arrived home late? I had no idea she had gone for a drink or stayed out late. I was at work, a few hours away. I ask, "Is that what you actually did that night, or was that a lie too?" Her response, "I went for drinks that night." She subsequently revealed that she hadn't seen her best friend, whom she claimed to have been with. My response, "Who did you see?" She says, "No one. I just drank alone. This is me." You drink alone now, She responded, yeah. Maybe I have a problem. Me, maybe. We'll discuss that later. This is your final chance to be honest, or I will leave. She responded. I don't know what else to say. Me, okay. I am leaving. At that point, I stood up and departed. When we dispute, I usually go for a drive to calm down, so she assumed I was doing the same. But then she noticed I had brought my clothing, toiletries, and Xbox with me. That's when she began blowing up my phone. I informed her that I had given her the opportunity to be honest, but she did not accept it. Therefore, there was nothing further to say. She begged and pleaded with me to come home and discuss it in person. She kept repeating she didn't know why I was unhappy, or what I felt she had done. She continued saying she loved me and would never hurt me. Hearing her say that ripped a new hole in my chest. Those words had always been consoling, but suddenly they felt like a dull, jagged knife cutting into my heart in the most agonizing way. I couldn't take it, so I hung up. She called back around 40 times before I was prepared to respond again. This time, she inquired, "Did you talk to Karen?" I asked. "Why?" She said, "Come home." I do not want to say this over the phone. I agreed and drove around a little longer to lower my heart rate. Then I headed home. When I arrived, the conversation went like this. She responded, "I assume you spoke to Karen?" Me? No? Her? A few weeks ago, when you were at work, Karen and I went out for drinks. A couple of guys began buying us drinks, and we simply played along. As we were leaving, one of the guys attempted to kiss me. I instantly pushed away and informed him that I was married. I felt terrible about it and wanted to tell you, but I panicked and chose to keep it from you. Karen hooked up with the other guy and gave his friend my phone information without asking me. He has texted me several times, but I have never responded. My response, "Can I see your phone?" She says, "Yes." She handed me her phone, which was absolutely empty of text messages, save for mine and her mother's. She never deletes her texts, so this was unexpected. I checked her photos, and they were similarly empty. Then I searched through the deleted images and discovered one person I didn't recognize. My response, "Who is this?" "Her? That's the guy who tried to kiss me." I replied, "Why did you take a picture of him?" Her response, "I was just being stupid." Me, "That isn't the cause. Why'd you take a photo of him?" Her response was, "I don't know." I ask, "Is that everything you want to tell me, or is there more?" Her response, "That's all I can think of." I departed again. I did not want to be fed any more trickle truths. I got into my pickup and drove away. She bolted outside, attempting to stop me, but I was already out of reach. I went to a local park, sat on my tailgate, and ate my lunch while deciding what to do next. While sitting there, I began to recall other things I should have been aware of. For example, I worked a weekend shift and went to bed early. My wife went out to the club with some girlfriends. I awoke at 4 a.m., and she was still not home. I contacted her multiple times, but she did not respond. About 30 minutes later, she called again and asked if I could pick her up. When I arrived, she explained that they had tried unsuccessfully to hail a taxi. A couple of males her friend knew gave them a ride, but they insisted on stopping at their home first. When they arrived at the men's residence, her married buddy entered a room with one of the guys. My wife stated she spent some time hunting for her companion, but eventually gave up and had a drink in the kitchen with her housemates while waiting. When I called, she said she didn't hear the phone. We argued about this episode, and she expressed displeasure with her friend's behavior, saying she had cut that buddy out of her life. I assumed the situation was behind us. Another time, she went to see a close friend in a distant city for a girls' night. 4 girls were apparently drinking and watching movies in their pajamas. Around 1 a.m., she called to say good night. We spoke for almost 20 minutes, and she kept telling me they were having a nice girls' night. Then I heard a male voice in the background. I questioned who it was, and she initially denied hearing anything. But when it happened again, louder this time, she said, "Oh yeah. X brought a number of males with her. Everyone here is quite upset about it. She was inebriated and 3 hours away. I had no choice but to trust her again." We argued over why she hadn't told me there were men around, and she pledged never to put herself in such a scenario again. Clearly, that pledge did not stay. After remembering all of these experiences and the conversations we had about them, I felt prepared to give it one more attempt. I turned my phone back on, and it nearly instantly rang. I responded, and she screamed for me to come home. I drove back to the house. When I stepped in, I found her sitting on the couch, crying her eyes out and constantly sobbing. "I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry." "Sorry for what?" I inquired. She began to sway back and forth as if she were losing control. It took her almost 5 minutes to regain her breath and speak. Her response: "I lied about the guy who tried to kiss me." Me: "Okay. Tell me what occurred." Her: "The four of us actually returned to his apartment that night. We played around." Hearing her say it made me dizzy, as if the room was closing in and a million voices were screaming in my mind. I guess I was experiencing a panic attack. I went to the restroom, splashed cold water on my face, and waited till I felt better. My response: "What did you do?" she asked. "Do you really want me to tell you?" Me: "Yes." Her response: "He fingered me, and I gave him a blowjob." My response: "Was that it?" She says: "Yes." I said, "I'm not playing this game anymore. Either tell me everything now, or this will be our final conversation." She began crying again and needed a few minutes before she could speak. We got together again and had sex. "I'm so sorry. I adore you, and will do anything to make up for this. This is me. Just the one time." "If I'm telling you the truth, please give me the opportunity to make amends. Please." My response: "I'll think about it." There was an affair. "We've been hooking up while you were away for work. It's been going on for about a month. He is married and they are about to divorce." My response: "Does he know you're married?" She says, "Yes." Me: "If he's having an affair because his marriage is failing, does that imply you believe ours is failing?" "Was that what you told him?" "No. I do not believe ours is failing. I am so stupid. I despise myself. Please do not abandon me. I can fix it." Me: "How?" She answered, "Whatever you want." My answer was, "If you were in my shoes, or even in his wife's shoes, what would fix this for you?" I know the truth. Being able to trust that you mean what you say. You can trust me. I messed up and will not do this again. Me: "If you were his wife, wouldn't you want to know the truth?" She says, "Yes." I said, "Then fix this." She responded, "You want me to call her?" You replied, "If you think that's what you would want." She attempted to phone his wife, but there was no answer. Several minutes later, her phone rang. It was labeled Karen Work, but she appeared surprised, so I knew it wasn't Karen. My response: "Is that him?" She says, "Yes." I answered the telephone. The coward instantly exclaimed, "Oops, I must have the wrong number." Me: "No. This is the husband of the woman you have been cheating on. I'll let you talk to her. She has something to say." I passed the phone to her. I told him everything. He knows the whole truth. We're finished. It was simply a fling, and you should not approach me again. Before she hung up, I requested to see the phone. My response: "What divorce lawyer are you using?" His response: "I'm not getting divorced." Me: "Oh, but you didn't inform my wife you were." He says, "No." Me: "Okay then. Can I speak to your wife? I believe she has the same right to know about this as I do." He says, "Please, man. I didn't realize she was married. Don't ruin my marriage because of a mistake." Me: "You ruined mine because of a mistake. It is only right that I inform your wife." He says, "Please don't. She is at work right now. I'll tell her everything once she gets home." I swear, this is me. "Okay, you do that." I hung up. Then I asked my wife if she knew where his wife worked and her name. She did. I told her to phone over and ask for his wife at her office. His wife answered and informed my wife that she was going to leave for the day, but would call back from her car. A few minutes later, she did. His wife asked, "What's going on?" My wife said, "I have something dreadful to tell you. I don't want to cause any accidents, therefore, please do not drive." His wife said, "Oh my God. What happened to his name?" My wife said, "No. He's currently at your flat. I just wanted to let you know that we have been having an affair for a month. I am coming honestly to my husband, and I believe you deserve the same respect." His wife was silent for a moment before stating, "If this is some sick joke, I will find out who you are." Then she hung up. Not even 10 minutes later, my wife received a text from Karen Work that read, "Thanks. You just ruined my life." I seized the phone and said, "You have just ruined 4 lives and 2 marriages. Don't forget, this was your fault." For the next hour, my wife pleaded with me to stay. She offered counseling, pledged never to leave my side, and even offered sexual favors, which was precisely what I expected, based on the complaints I'd read online. Then she suggested we take a trip, stating, "My treat. We need time away to reconnect." She stated we needed quality time together because my work schedule was keeping us apart. Again, she said precisely what I expected. What she didn't expect was when I informed her I'd already scheduled counseling for myself. She also didn't anticipate me to reveal that I had discovered her in our bed with someone else. And she didn't expect me to reply, "I already have a place to stay." When I told her everything, she slumped on the floor and sobbed. She kept insisting that she didn't deserve to live and begged me to kill her since she was too horrible to be with anyone. This continued for a time. I waited for 4 hours, listening to her make excuses and attempting to embrace, cuddle, or charm me into staying and resolving things. In the end, I called Karen and told her that her suicidal friend needed someone to look after her. Then I left. It's been almost a day since that happened, and I haven't spoken to her since. She has been phoning and messaging me all day. Her friends and family have also reached out, each with a unique excuse or cry for empathy. The one message that genuinely stuck out came from her father. He wrote, "Do what is best for you. I will always love you like a son no matter what." Reading that was the first time I had a decent cry since it all began. Tomorrow, I'll visit with Sharon, my counselor, and on Thursday, I'll see a lawyer. I believe I know where this is going, but I'm not certain until it happens. I apologize for the lengthy story, but it helps to rant like this. Once again, I sincerely appreciate all of your comments and letters. People sharing their own tales have made me feel less shattered and provided much needed hope. Thank you, everyone.